On the night of November 22, 2000, a 21-year-old woman sent a text message to her boyfriend. It said, "I'll be home soon." She was never seen again. No body was ever found. No suspect was ever charged. No one who knew her could explain what happened in the hours between that message and the moment she simply ceased to exist. Her name was Yoshi Shimamura. She lived in Osaka, Japan. She worked at a convenience store, paid her rent on time, and had no enemies that anyone could name. And for over 2 decades, the case has sat in a file somewhere in a Japanese police station, unsolved, unexplained, and almost completely unknown outside of Japan. Until now. Yoshi Shimamura was not the kind of person who disappeared. She was 21 years old, lived in a small apartment in Namba, one of Osaka's busiest districts, and worked the evening shift at a convenience store 3 nights a week. She was not in debt, she was not using drugs, she had a boyfriend she had been seeing for 8 months, a small group of close friends, and a routine so predictable that the people around her could tell you exactly where she would be on any given day of the week. On November 22, 2000, that routine ended. She finished her shift at 10:45 p.m. A colleague watched her leave through the store's glass front door, turning left down the main street toward the subway station she used every night. Surveillance footage from a camera mounted above a nearby ATM captured her walking past at 10:51 p.m. She was alone. She was walking normally. She was carrying her regular bag. At 11:03 p.m., she sent the text message to her boyfriend. 12 words. "I'll be home soon. See you tomorrow morning. I love you." The message was sent from a cell tower that placed her approximately 400 meters from her apartment building. She was close. She was almost home. She never arrived. Her boyfriend called her phone at 11:45 p.m. when she had not appeared. No answer. He called again at midnight, again at 1 a.m. By 2 a.m., he was outside her apartment building, pressing the buzzer. By morning, he had contacted her friends. By afternoon, he had contacted police. Yoshi Shimamura had vanished in a 400-meter stretch of ordinary Osaka street in under 40 minutes. No witnesses came forward. No one reported hearing anything unusual. The street had no security cameras beyond the ATM footage that had captured her final confirmed moments. Japanese police opened a missing persons investigation immediately. What they found, or more precisely, what they did not find, would define the next 2 decades of the case. There was no sign of struggle anywhere on the route between the ATM and her apartment. No personal items were recovered. Her apartment was untouched. Her keys, still on the hook inside the door, had not been used. Her bank account recorded no withdrawals after that night. Her phone went to voicemail after the 11:03 p.m. text and was never connected to a network again. It was as though the 400 meters between that text message and her front door had swallowed her whole. The investigation that followed was thorough by the standards of the time and completely inadequate by the standards of what the case demanded. Japanese police in 2000 were not equipped for a disappearance with no crime scene. Missing persons cases in Japan at that time operated under a framework that assumed one of 2 things: the person had left voluntarily, or there was physical evidence of something worse. Yoshi's case offered neither. There was no note suggesting she had chosen to leave. There was no blood, no struggle, no body. She existed in a category the system had no clean procedure for. Investigators canvassed the neighborhood extensively in the days following her disappearance. They interviewed her colleagues, her boyfriend, her family, her neighbors, and every resident within 3 blocks of the route she would have walked. They reviewed every security camera in the area, finding only the single ATM footage that had already been identified. They searched the nearby river, the parks, the parking structures. They found nothing. Her boyfriend was interviewed multiple times over the following weeks. He was cooperative, consistent, and visibly devastated. Investigators noted that his alibi for the evening, a work shift confirmed by colleagues until 10 p.m., followed by a documented phone call with a friend, was solid. He was never formally named a suspect. The convenience store where she worked was examined for any indication of a threatening customer or workplace conflict. Her coworkers described her as quiet and professional. No incidents were on record. Within 6 months, the case had effectively stalled. This was not unusual in Japan at the time. The country had, and continues to have, one of the lowest violent crime rates in the developed world. That statistical reality created a police infrastructure that was exceptional at solving the crimes that did occur, but had limited experience with cases that left no traceable evidence. Yoshi's case fit none of the patterns detectives were trained to recognize. What made the case increasingly disturbing over the following years was what investigators discovered when they looked more carefully at the geography. In the 18 months before Yoshi disappeared, 3 other young women had vanished from the greater Osaka area under circumstances that shared troubling similarities. All were in their 20s, all disappeared in the late evening hours, all were last confirmed within a short distance of their homes. None had shown signs of planning to leave, none had been found. Japanese police had not connected these cases at the time they occurred. Each had been logged separately, handled by different precincts, filed in different systems. It was only when a journalist began reviewing cold case files in 2004 that the pattern became visible. When he brought it to the attention of police, investigators reviewed the files and acknowledged the geographic and demographic similarities. They stopped short of formally declaring the cases connected. Officially, they remain separate investigations to this day. For 20 years, the case produced no new leads. Then, in 2021, a true crime researcher named Hiroshi Tanaka, who had spent 3 years compiling disappearance records across Western Japan, published a detailed analysis online that quietly became one of the most widely shared documents in Japanese cold case communities. Tanaka's analysis identified 7 young women who had disappeared from the Osaka-Kobe corridor between 1998 and 2003. All were between 19 and 26 years old. All disappeared between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. All were last seen within 600 meters of their residences. None had been found. None of the cases had been formally connected by police. Yoshie Shimamura was case number 4 on his list. Tanaka was careful not to claim a serial perpetrator. His document noted that the similarities could reflect the demographics and routines of young working women in urban Japan, rather than a single actor. But he also noted something that investigators had not publicly addressed. In 5 of the 7 cases, the women had used the same mobile carrier, and in 4 of those 5 cases, their phones had gone completely dark within minutes of their final confirmed location, not gradually losing signal as would be expected from a dead battery or phone turned off, but instantaneously, as if the device had been destroyed or removed from range by someone who knew what they were doing. The document prompted a response from Japanese authorities that was both significant and deeply unsatisfying. In February 2022, the Osaka Prefectural Police acknowledged publicly for the first time that they were reviewing several historical missing persons cases for potential connections. They did not name the cases. They did not confirm Tanaka's count of 7. They did not provide a timeline for the review. They have not provided a public update since. What investigators have confirmed in a brief statement released in late 2022 is that Yoshie Shimamura's case remains open. Active, they called it, a word that in the context of a 22-year-old cold case with no physical evidence, no named suspect, and no publicly disclosed leads carries a particular kind of weight. It means they have not given up. It also means they have nothing. Yoshie Shimamura has been missing for over 23 years. Her boyfriend, now in his mid-40s, has given interviews to Japanese media on the anniversary of her disappearance every year since 2005. He is not remarried. he is not moved from Osaka. In a 2019 interview, he said that the hardest part is not knowing whether to grieve or to hope, that not knowing which one is appropriate has made it impossible to do either properly. Her parents, now in their 70s, have continued to maintain a missing persons listing with her last known photograph, the same image that appeared on Tanaka's document, the same image that is circulated in Japanese cold case communities for 2 decades. A 21-year-old face that has not aged in the way it should have. The 7 cases Tanaka identified remain unresolved. No arrests have been made in connection with any of them. No bodies have been recovered. No official task force has been publicly announced. The Osaka Prefectural Police's 2022 statement remains the last public communication on the matter. Japan's approach to cold cases has evolved significantly since 2000. New DNA analysis capabilities, improved digital forensics, and a reformed missing persons framework have transformed how recent disappearances are handled. But for cases that predate these systems, cases where the physical evidence was minimal and the digital trail has degraded over 2 decades, the tools that exist now cannot always reach back far enough to help. Yoshi's case sits in that gap. What happened in the 400 meters between that text message and her front door has never been explained. No theory has been proven. No person has been named. The case file remains open in an Osaka police precinct, in a stack of folders that grows thinner every year as the detectives who originally worked it retire, and the institutional memory of the investigation slowly fades. She sent a text message that said she would be home soon. She was 400 meters away. She was never home.